So we're going to go ahead and actually start with the first couple of us, since we're speaking in English. When we get to our third speaker, we're going to pause if the interpreter's not here. That way we can have the simultaneous translation, because the third speaker and some of our other ones will be in Spanish. So I'll get us started. Welcome, thank you all. My name's Candy Cedevaca. I'm the councilwoman for Denver's District 9, and I'm here to stand in support with my community. I am a Swansea resident, lifelong resident, and was really catalyzed to run for office because the many issues that we've dealt with in our community, one of them being the development of National Western Center. I've been involved with this issue for what seems like over a decade, was part of the original Citizen Advisory Council that was led by lobbyists for the National Western Center, and really was a group to create an illusion of community engagement that never really manifested. Community has not had a voice in this process since the very beginning. We currently don't even have a voting rep on the National Western Center Authority. And we've tried many times to make sure that we had more than one voting rep like the other equity partners and have not been successful. We've been continuously ignored as a community. We have tried many times through public testimony. We've tried many times through protests, through engagement, through the avenues that are created for community to engage, to influence the process and the unfolding of the National Western Center in our community so that it would benefit our community positively in the long run. We've heard hours of testimony of our community really expressing their challenges, their issues with creating a year-long entertainment venue without any concern for housing or resources in neighborhoods that have been historically starved of the very basic necessities that the rest of our residents in the city get to enjoy. We had last week testimony for an hour on this specific bond question, and we had not one person from GES supporting the bond for this specific question for the National Western Center money, which is the largest chunk of the bond. And for those of you who are unsure of what a bond is, it is a loan on our city to pay for something that we will end up paying for the next 30 plus years. Very little community involvement went into creating this specific bond question. And so I want everyone to understand that this is not a proposal that community advanced or was a part of advancing. We split the questions apart specifically to make sure that this question could stand alone so that voters could vote on it on its own merits. The entire city, many years ago in 2015, decided to fund the National Western Center through hotel and tourism tax. This is different. This is not funding the event center with hotel and tourism. This is funding this part of the event center with property taxes. Property taxes we've already increased in our most difficult economic downturn yet. So we split that question apart, and tonight we ask our council members who have been unable to successfully guarantee commitments for our community in a timely fashion to not advance this one to the ballot. If it does advance to the ballot, we encourage voters to vote no on this specific National Western ballot question. We're urging a pause at the minimum to get real substantial commitments. You'll hear our council president and vice president or pro tem talk about an agreement that was reached, a letter that was reached to obtain some of those commitments for community. This is not unique. We have already had a memorandum of understanding from our mayor over 5 years ago, committing to a community benefits agreement that has yet to manifest, and the first two phases are already almost completed. We had embedded in the National Western Framework Agreement that the community would get a community investment fund, and to date, we still do not have any commitments on what that revenue stream would be or where it would come from. And so these pieces of paper that make these commitments to community, when we're trying to advance something, are insufficient. We're asking for more. We're asking for something real, tangible. And right now, when we survey the city's top needs are not an event center. An event center is the type of asset we lost the most money on last year during COVID when we had to shut things down. If we are to shut down again, the first thing we will shut down are our large entertainment venues. This venue is being justified as a jumpstart to our economy, knowing that it'll be at least 5 years before we'll even see this venue come online. And we know in our construction economy, we don't even have enough workers to do all of the work that's happening out here. So we urge a pause. We urge the administration to work with community actively and quickly to secure real meaningful commitments on the Community Investment Fund and the community benefit agreements for both of the phases that have already been completed and the triangle to be completed. And we want taxpayers to know that this is something we can fund another way. It doesn't have to be funded by a bond or eventually your property taxes. There are other ways to do this, and we've proven that with phase 1 and phase 2. So please take a pause, understand what our city needs right now, and put this for later. Let us, as the community, drive what happens in our community, especially since half of this has already been done without us at the table. We only want to see community benefits on this triangle. This is publicly owned land that we took away private property to acquire and to use for the triangle. The public should have the primary role in deciding what happens with it, and that has not occurred yet. So please listen to my colleagues and my neighbors today. Next, you'll hear from one of the youth in our community, Giovanni Rodriguez. It's important to listen to what Giovanni's saying because our community is a young community, and the children of our community will be the ones who inherit not only the debt, but what is left in this community after we develop it for these entertainment venues. So please welcome Giovanni Rodriguez, 10 years old, from our community, to tell you what he thinks about what's happening.
Hello, my name is Giovanni Rodriguez, and I would like to share this, this sentence that I wanted to say for the community, and I'd like to share it right now. It's called, "We decide the future, housing our friends, our neighbors, our community." What I understand about a community is people who live, work, and fight together for what is right. The right way shows people working together to stop being pushed around. Our people's power shows we can come together and stop the injustice. My power is to help my mom water the garden and help my dad with community projects. The community I see is a place where kids can decide a place to play music and do art and just be a kid, and where moms and dads have more time to be with their kids and people get to be healthy. The community I want to see, the community I will fight for, my community is safe for all families, a place where all people can stay in their homes, a place where kids and adults, and a place for everyone where they can care for the land and care for each other.
Thanks, Giovanni. Next up, Mercedes Gonzalez is going to speak about the vision of fighting displacement.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Mercedes González y soy residente de Swansea y parte de la coalición GS. Somos líderes vecinales y organizaciones comunitarias que trabajan para alinear la salud, el bienestar de nuestros vecinos a través de campañas de defensa para prevenir el desplazamiento de nuestros vecinos. Activar al liderazgo impulsado por residentes, proteger vecinos históricamente marginados, preservar la asequibilidad de la vivienda y promover una cultura de equidad.
Good afternoon, my name is Mercedes and I'm a resident of Swansea and I'm part of the GS Coalition in Global Area Swansea. We are community leaders, neighbors, leaders, and organizations, community organizations that work to align health and well-being with our neighbors through campaigns in advocacy to prevent displacement for our neighbors, to activate leadership that is impulsed by residents, and to protect neighbors that have been historically marginalized, to preserve accessible housing, and to promote a culture of equity.
Yo represento a mi comunidad y soy la voz de ellos. Me siento enojada, frustrada con la ciudad por todo el daño ocasionado a los barrios marginados, olvidados. Antes eran áreas industriales, pasa la zonificación, llegan desarrollos, grandes inversiones públicas, privadas, que generan ganancias masivas por los inversionistas, y el daño impacta a nuestra comunidad, que somos mucho más afectados que otras comunidades.
I represent my community and I am a voice within them. I am upset and frustrated with the city for all the damage that it has caused the marginalized neighborhoods, the forgotten areas, that have been forgotten because of the industrial areas, and they pass zoning, and then big developments come, public investments and private, that generate massive earnings for the investors, and the damage that impacts our community. And there are so many communities, so many people that are affected more than in other communities.
La remodelación del 170 y la expansión del National Westetn, llamado El Triángulo, y otros desarrollos en nuestra comunidad, el desplazamiento cada vez es más peor, daña más a nuestros propios hogares, daña económicamente a las familias de bajos recursos.
The remodeling of I-70 and the expansion of the National Western Stock Show, called the Triangle, and other developments in our community, and the displacement each time is worse. It damages our own homes. It damages our families economically, our low-income families.
A los más vulnerables, aumentos extremos de altas rentas, impuestos de propiedades. El desplazamiento daña la salud de la comunidad, daña la salud mental, causa depresión y enfermedades crónicas.
It hurts our most vulnerable with the extremely high rents and the increase of property taxes. The displacement hurts the health of our community. It hurts the mental health. It causes depression and other chronic illnesses.
Los niños son más afectados por el desplazamiento, y el desplazamiento desestabiliza emocionalmente a sus rutinas cotidianas y sociales, con la disminución y rendimiento escolar. El impacto del desarrollo impulsa el desplazamiento y se está incrementando los desalojos involuntarios a raíz de la pandemia del COVID-19, cual amenaza con la salud y la estabilidad de nuestros vecinos.
Our children are the most impacted by the displacement. And displacement, it also causes an emotional unstabilizing for their daily routines and social routines. And it causes lower academic achievement. The impact of development has impulsed displacement, and it is increasing the displacement, involuntary displacement, as the root cause of the pandemic in COVID-19, which is also threatening the health and the stability of our neighbors.
Tenemos derecho de quedarnos en nuestros hogares. Tenemos derecho a que no se nos excluya de nuestras comunidades. Somos gente trabajadora, pagamos impuestos, exigimos igualdad y ser respetados y no ser discriminados.
We have the right to stay in our homes. We have the right to not be excluded from our communities. We are hardworking people. We pay our taxes, and we are asking for equality, to be respected and not to be discriminated.
Voy a hablar un poquito de mi Les voy a contar un poquito de mi experiencia que yo tuve porque fui yo desplazada. Yo viví 20 años en 5 puntos y fui desplazada por los desarrollos que se estaban ya hablando y ya estaban en mi comunidad de 5 puntos. Yo fui desplazada y eran 6 dúplex y de la misma manera también fueron desplazados a mis vecinos. Yo fui desplazada, para mí se me hizo algo muy feo de parte del dueño porque fui desplazada por el idioma, fui discriminada. Para mí, la experiencia que yo tuve en mi familia, mi esposo, fue algo terrible. Cuando uno es desplazada de su comunidad, yo me sentía parte de esa comunidad, era mi comunidad, eran mis vecinos, eran mis amigos. Mis nietos iban en la escuela Col. Para mí fue algo horrible cuando yo fui desplazada, esa angustia, ese pesar de dónde nos íbamos a ir, a dónde, porque yo era parte de esa comunidad. Me fui a Swansea, ahora tengo 4 años viviendo en Swansea. ¿Dónde me fui? Donde están todos los desarrollos, donde está la expansión del 70. Estamos rodeadas de desarrollos, encerradas por el tren, calles cerradas, no sabemos ni por dónde salir ni por dónde ir. Es algo terrible para todas las comunidades que estamos pasando por esa situación. Me siento atrapada, yo me siento que un monstruo viene devorándonos a los más vulnerables, a los de bajos recursos. Es algo injusto. Todo lo que estamos viviendo para nosotros es una depresión, una ansiedad que esto ocasiona enfermedades mentales y especialmente a los niños, a los más vulnerables. Yo soy persona de la tercera edad y por eso estoy aquí luchando por mi comunidad, porque me siento enojada, me siento frustrada con la ciudad, con todo el daño que están haciendo a nuestra comunidad. Gracias.
And I want to tell a little bit about my story. I was displaced 5 years ago. I used to live in 5 Points, and 5 years ago I was displaced. It was because of all the developments that were occurring in my community. There was 6 duplexes, and I was displaced and I was discriminated against because I had language barriers. And the landlord kicked us out and he displaced us, me and my husband. I am very upset because of what happened because of that. And I was then moved to Swansea, and I've been living in Swansea for 4 years. And that is where it really hurt because I had my community at 5 Points. I had the people, my neighbors, and those were my people that I was with all the time. And then I moved to Swansea, another community that is being displaced because of development. And we don't know where to come in. There's the I-70, there's a train, there's streets that are closed. We don't know where to come in or leave through. We don't know what streets are going to be open or not. And it feels like there's a monster chasing after the most vulnerable communities. And the impact that this causes, not only to our health, to our mental health and the depression that this brings, but to the stabilizing of our children, for them to feel that they have a daily routine that they can depend on. I have children and grandchildren that live with me, and they are highly impacted by this. And I am upset and I am frustrated because this is happening, and this shouldn't be happening, and that is why I'm asking for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mercedes. Next, we're going to hear from Angelina Torres about the value of the land and the tierra colectiva.
Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Angelina Torres. Soy parte de la coalición GS. Soy residente de Swansea.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angelina Torres. I am part of GES, my Global Area Swansea.
Nosotros tenemos sueños, ilusiones, ambiciones en cambiar a nuestras comunidades y ya sabemos la importancia de la tierra en manos de nosotros. El Banco de Tierra de Comunidad nos beneficia a familias para hacer viviendas asequibles con precios que puedan pagar nuestras comunidades. no los precios de lujo. Por esta razón estamos interesados en el triángulo y las tierras públicas de la ciudad. Esto nos ayudaría a mitigar el desplazamiento de nuestros vecinos. Sí queremos jardines, plazas centrales, huertos, cooperativas del terreno con muchos. La comunidad debe ser socio en el desarrollo para hacer espacios públicos, para caminar, pasear y más. Establecer la salud y el bienestar de todos. Gracias.
We have dreams and we have ambitions in changing our communities, and we know the importance of the land in our hands. The Community Land Trust will benefit families to make accessible housing with prices that we can pay in our communities, not with luxurious prices. And for this reason, we are interested in the triangle and in the public lands that the city owns. This will help us mitigate the displacement of our neighbors. Yes, we want gardens, plazas, gardens, co-ops, land trust with everyone else. The community should be a partner in the development to make public spaces so that we can walk, so we could stroll and more to establish health and well-being for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelina. Next, we're going to hear from Angela Garcia about the importance of a community-led process.
My name is Angela Garcia. I am here today as a longtime Global resident and a homeowner of 29 years. I would like to encourage the City of Denver, the Mayor's Office, the National Western Authority to collaborate and partner with the communities of Gova, Elyria, and Swansea in the development of the Triangle Project. This partnership and collaboration should include the knowledge that identifies, affirms, and uses the gifts, resources, skills, and knowledge that already exist in the communities of GES. The residents of GES have a right to participate in making decisions that affect our lives, our communities, as well as having a right to information and transparency from the Mayor's Office, the City, and the National Western Authority. The communities of GES can drive the development process ourselves by identifying and mobilizing existing strengths. We require the acknowledgement, support, and a working relationship with the Mayor, the City, and the National Western Authority for this to happen. Relationships build community, foster leadership skills, and community engagement at the local level. The GES communities, the Mayor's Office, the City of Denver, and the National Western Authority can work together towards a shared goal, increase trust, and future contributions to the well-being of GES and the City of Denver. Let us walk together and work together to enrich the communities of GES, the lives of our children and our elders.
Thank you, Angela. Next, we're going to hear from Maria de Luna about the long history of broken promises at National Western.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es María Elena de Luna Jiménez y yo he vivido por más de 30 años en la comunidad de GES y yo voy a hablar de por qué no apoyamos el bono Go.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Elena de Luna Jimenez, and I have lived in the communities of GES for more than 30 years. And I am going to talk about why we don't support the Go bond.
Haciendo memoria, en el 2015, yo misma, por experiencia propia, viví algo similar a lo que están haciendo ahora. Nosotros, unas compañeras y yo estuvimos tocando puertas en el área de Swansea y de Elyria. Estuvimos tocando puertas y pidiendo a la gente que apoyara, que votaran a favor del bono que en ese tiempo estaban pidiendo, que era de 23 millones. Yo estuve tocando puertas, hablando con la gente, concientizándola para que apoyaran este bono para National Western. ¿Por qué? Porque nos habían dicho que iba a ser un beneficio muy grande para la comunidad, que íbamos a tener una oportunidad buena para la comunidad.
So I am just making memory of back in 2015 when me and some other partners, co-workers, we were going out door knocking and encouraging voters to vote yes on the bond that was happening in 2015. And it was a bond so that they could make improvements on the National Western Stock Show. And we were convincing them and bringing awareness about this bond so that people would know that this was going to bring great benefits for our community. And it was worth $23 million.
En ese momento ya estábamos identificando que estaba habiendo desplazamiento, que nuestra comunidad se estaba empezando a disolver, que estaba yéndose gente. En ese tiempo nosotros teníamos trabajando también con un grupo de residentes en un programa que era de micronegocio. Estábamos buscando qué era lo que hacían las personas cuando tenían necesidad de un dinero extra llegar a su casa.
So at that time, we were already identifying what the needs of the community were. And at that time, we were working with a group of people that were trying to build a business plan. And we were trying to figure out what were the needs and what would people do if they were to get like an extra income coming into their households.
Y fue así como identificamos que estábamos perdiendo residentes. Hablamos con el National Western, ellos dijeron que ellos tenían propuestas para nosotros, nos propusieron hacer una cocina comercial dentro de National Western, dentro del área, para que la pudieran aprovechar estas personas que estaban cocinando para traer dinero a su comunidad. ¿Por qué? Porque para ellas poder tener un micronegocio, un pequeño negocio, necesitaban una cocina comercial para poder fabricar su comida.
So it was at that time that we started noticing that there was displacement and that our community was starting to dissolve. And through this process, by door knocking, we started noticing that a lot of community members were moving. And it was at that time when the National Western Stock Show, or when the community identified that they needed a community commercial kitchen for them to do their business. Because in order for you to open a small business selling food, you need to prepare at a commercial kitchen. So the National Western Stock Show had said that they would build a commercial kitchen for the community use within their grounds.
Y eso fue una de las promesas que hicieron, que nunca se cumplieron, nunca lo hicieron. Ni siquiera tuvieron la amabilidad de decirnos, no lo hemos hecho por tal razón. Otra de las cosas que en ese tiempo nos prometieron, en eso mismo, fue que vamos a hablar, ¿podemos usarlo en vivienda? Y la contestación de ellos fue sí, lo pueden usar en lo que ustedes crean conveniente. Hasta ahorita no ha pasado nada. Fue en el 2015 cuando prometieron eso. Se ganó, se llegó ese dinero. ¿Dónde está? Nosotros no recibimos nada. Nosotros no ganamos nada. A nosotros no nos cumplieron con nada. ¿Qué pasó? Que también el bono tampoco llegó. Nada llegó. Entonces, esa es una de las razones por las cuales no estamos aprobando, no estamos apoyando. No lo apoyamos porque son promesas falsas. Ahora, hace 2 años que el alcalde volvió a ser reelegido, él nos propuso poner vivienda, poner banquetas en el área.
So it was a promise where they were going to build a community kitchen for us, and that's never happened. It never came through. We've never seen this commercial kitchen that was supposed to be for our community. At that time, they had also said that for every event that they had, they would separate a small portion of the event sales and they would use it as a community benefit. It would be some funds that would be allocated back to the community needs. And we asked, I remember I was the one that asked, and I said, can we use this for housing? Because we were already identifying housing as a need in our community. And they said, yes, you could use it for whatever the needs arise. It's been to this date that we've never seen the bond. We never saw the commercial kitchen. The things that were promised were never fulfilled. And it was at that time, it was 2 years ago when the mayor-elect was re-elected. and he promised sidewalks for our community.
En esa ocasión que él estaba hablando de banquetas, yo le dije, no necesitamos banquetas en el área, son necesarias porque sí se necesitan, pero es más urgente la vivienda, debido a que estabas creciendo el desarrollo. Necesitamos viviendas. Y él ignoró completamente, no quiso hablar de viviendas y solo decía, oh, voy a poner banquetas, yo les prometo banquetas. No queremos banquetas, queremos vivienda, queremos viviendas accesibles, queremos viviendas que realmente podamos usar. A diario escuchamos que las personas están teniendo que salir del área, es a diario escuchar, es a diario. Entonces, ¿por qué vamos a aprobar algo que es dinero público? Dinero que es de nuestros impuestos, porque así como nos ven, de todas maneras también pagamos impuestos. Aunque somos una comunidad marginada, pagamos impuestos. Entonces, derecho tenemos a también tener igualdad.
So it was at that time when I remember I was asking, the mayor was talking about sidewalks, putting in sidewalks. I told him, I personally said, we don't want sidewalks. And he kept saying sidewalks, we're going to put sidewalks here, we're going to do sidewalks there, and didn't address the issue on housing. So then this is what we want. We want housing for our communities to not continue to be displaced.
Ahora quieren poner banquetas, pero ¿para quién? Directo a National Western. ¿Por qué? Porque van a venir visitas, porque van a venir turismos, porque la van a usar las personas que van a visitar National Western. ¿Y qué pasa con lo demás del barrio? ¿Qué pasa con lo demás? Las banquetas hacen falta en toda el área, no solamente allí, pero aún así no cumplió tampoco con esa promesa. Ya va a salir, ya le queda poco tiempo y no ha cumplido. Entonces, ¿cómo vamos a apoyar algo que no cumple?
I forgot something said earlier. The thing is that this is being used, this is public funds that are being used to do these things. It is community. We pay our taxes and we are asking for equal access to everything. And he still talks about, they are going to build sidewalks, and the sidewalks are going to be built so that you could get to the National Western Stock Show and to be surrounding the National Western Stock Show. For whom? For the people that come and visit the National Western Stock Show. And he only has 2 more years, and it was a promise that wasn't fulfilled.
Del modo que podamos apoyar a esto, va a ser que él haga un compromiso comunitario. Realmente algo podamos manejar, que podamos ser acuerdo comunitario para poder apoyar. Queremos trabajar con él, es lo que queremos. Lo vamos a hacer si apoyamos, va a ser con el acuerdo comunitario.
And the only way that we could achieve anything is if he could get a community agreement for us, something that is tangible, something that we can actually achieve to get the things that we want to do, and these can be achieved. And this is the way that we will commit to supporting this, is if there is a community agreement for this, and that's how we can achieve things.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Next, we're going to hear from Alma Urbano talk about justice.
Approved and utilized by the political and economic powers that prioritize money and profit over human lives, resulting in the gentrification of long divested Black and Indigenous communities of color. Development rests on our exploitation and extraction in order to create profit for investors. We propose a different method, policies, and reparations necessary to address past and present systemic violence of extraction and exclusion weaponized against communities of color. Reparations and other forms of economic solidarity function by directly repaying communities most harmed for past systemic extraction. By repairing harm from historic and ongoing extraction, there is tangible process by which to engage communities in determining how and what reparations are required. We urge every policymaker, investor, and developer to include sufficient funding as part of their project to reparate stolen land, stolen labor, and stolen license divestment and redevelopment. Reparations can also serve as a model of health, equity, and housing stability by directly funding those individuals and families most impacted by the extraction, and in turn, a direct way to fund the stability of society as a whole. What we continue to ask for is dignity and recognition of our humanity and the humanity of neighbors who live and deserve justice, safety, and health because we are human beings. We seek to create a community-centered vision for planning, developing, and storing the remaining public land on the triangle at National Western. This community-directed plan will provide a pathway that returns economic growth for the city of Denver while also offering important services and investments for the GES Coalition. And unlike the city's plan, the community plan will be developed through a detailed equitable planning process with the community as equity partners. The GES Coalition is built by community members, neighbors who live and experience the impact of the surrounding construction, development, and investment. Our vision is for community-led investment depending on what our neighbors deem appropriate. We have a history of engaging families and trust from our neighbors. Our processes are complex, just like the dynamics of our neighbors and the neighborhoods themselves. Again, we want dignity, a respect for our sovereignty as humans, and a recognition of our humanity. Our vision understands there are issues like housing and environmental impacts that impact the daily lives of humans. We understand housing and the zip code of someone impacts their access to healthcare, education, and as we see here, a dignified living. Equitable engagement takes these into deep consideration when listening and respecting the dignity of neighbors. And if they let us know of other issues they see potential for this land to address, we will take note. Because our understanding and experiences, although important, are also incomplete without the consensus of neighborhoods and our neighbors' input, which we hope to be in union for our fight for respect of land and our peoples. As neighbors, we ask you to see your place in your way and with your neighbors, organizing together to fight to reclaim a powerful and shared vision of community life. We organize for a future where we are healthy, vibrant, strong, and safe. A future that we decide and a future where we are able to stay. Thank you.
Thank you, Alma. Next, we're going to hear from Alfonso Espino about the demand for redevelopment of public lands.
Hello, everybody. Thank you to everybody who showed up with us, especially our neighbors and our allies. It's moments like these that matter the most. It's when we set a new precedent to how a community should develop their own community. And I'm here today to also close us off. And I thank you all for being here and allowing us to share our vision and our call for justice. Their plan, the cities, is rooted in misery, in a system, in a build-out that serves the interests of the city, a city which has made it abundantly clear who it serves and what its values are based on. An inaccessible city, a playground for the petty bourgeoisie, a city rooted in colonization, a project still well underway. A city that has accepted the strength of its economic might as the only needed tool to continue dispossessing and displacing our communities. This is the phenomenon known as gentrification. We stand here today in solidarity with our neighbors and fellow Denverites that are victims to the system. We're here to propose a new way of doing things, inverting the reality and the tools of a system that only seeks to marginalize us, exclude us, and delegitimize our suffering and the context of that history. A history where it's made it possible to have a Capitol building in front of me topped with gold, and a lawn full of people dispossessed of homes, dispossessed of a right of human dignity. Behind me, I have my community members who are here representing their families, their neighbors, and every single person across this city and country who suffers from the exact same type of exploitation, just different conditions. We're here to propose and also assert ourselves and our power and our knowledge and our experience to make that change ourselves, and we ask that the city respect that and join us in walking our own road from here moving forward. We have demands of the mayor. We have these demands not based on wants, on illusions, but on human dignity. Desires based on reparations. People that have served their backs, their labor, their sweat, their tears, their homes, taken all for the better good of the city, but never us. We do not feel a part of the city. We do not reap the benefits of the city as it pushes us with this economic might, that monster that Mercedes was talking about. That is the only thing that we face, and we're here to be reintegrated into the city, but on our own terms. And I hope that other communities across the city, across the nation, can see us as an example to never stop fighting, to see organizing as one of many tools that are absolutely necessary to combat this system that does not wish to see us succeed. It is only here to exploit us. It is only here to disregard us. It is only here to dispossess us. That has to change. We want public land to be community land. We want the 47 acres that were going to be given to private developers for private profits to be given to the community instead and kept in the community's hands. We have a vision, and we are leading a community-led planning process for the Triangle that the city will and should adopt. We want to feel, see, and know our neighborhood has control of a part of the National Western Campus, which is located in our neighborhood, not the other way around. We want real control of the land and community-centered collective decision-making structures on the development of this land. We don't want just an agreement without shifting the control of the land, which is absolutely necessary. We want to prevent the displacement and truly build a local economy from the ground up, inverting the system. We want to actually be able to afford our housing, to actually have community-run businesses, actual accountability, sustainably improving our lives. We want Tierra Colectiva, the community-run land trust, to lead this process. We demand actual reparations for the harm done in our communities. This didn't begin yesterday. It's a century's worth of displacement. It's a century's worth, at least here in Denver, of exploiting our immigrant, historically, neighborhoods, right? And based on this is why we reject the ongoing exploitation and displacement of our neighbors in GES and the surrounding neighborhoods across the city. We reject all projects that are not approved for the welfare of the community. We refuse to have an agreement with any institution that does not present projects to the community. And we, of course, will always reject the ongoing exploitation of our communities by the city. We need to be in control of the process, and we will be. Thank you. At least 10 people in our community, an immigrant, working class neighborhood that is representative of what we need. Thank you very much. And to the press, we will open it up. If you had any questions, we'll make ourselves available to answer now at this moment.
Yeah, Alfonso, I have a question. The city says that proposed development of the 1909 building and the arena will generate funds for meaningful local community investment. What's your response to that? And what's the suggestion for funding the projects the community wants?
Public land should be publicly invested, of course. Lie that the mayor's administration and its associates at CRL are propagating that our benefits and a future run by our community is based on the profits of one arena, right? Is a gross mischaracterization of the reality of that complex and the reality of the community benefits that we're asking for. Our futures are not exclusively tied to a public arena.
And just as far as a potential revenue share list of priorities being advanced on the bond, then it would be a different scenario because we would be prioritizing what the community is asking for, chiefly housing, and that would be worthy of the taxpayer's dollar. For an entertainment complex, I think that we were right on with the way we funded phase 1 and 2 of National Western, and that was through the hotel and tourism tax, because in theory, those are the people who are paying for it, and so that cycle makes sense. This one doesn't, because this is not a community benefit.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Those are not the only pieces of the triangle. There are acres of developable land that we were originally going to trade with developers. We were going to literally give them all of the acreage of land in exchange for them renovating these 2 buildings. It was a complete misuse of a P3. Luckily, we dropped the P3, and now this mechanism to fund the renovations of the arena is just the wrong mechanism. They can be funded through the hotel and tourism tax, and that's the right tax for entertainment venues. So the rest of the triangle, the other acres that are developable, that were literally taken from private owners for public good, should be designed, and the community should identify what's happening there, and then we figure out the revenue stream. But that we're putting the cart before the horse.
Seems like this is going to pass tonight, so where do you continue your efforts as we approach November?
To us, to oppose the way in which they want this, at the end of the day, based on our asks and demands, does not detract from that possibility of us being able to control the remaining public land on the triangle, and the arena will not get in the way, nor should it, of us being able to
Rely on is our ignorance as a populace when we're voting. Most of us see it advanced by city council, don't even think twice, and we vote yes, and then we're essentially mortgaging our future, and we hurt ourselves in the long run. I encourage every voter to get educated about what a bond is. It's a loan, it's a mortgage on your future. I encourage them to understand what pay back property taxes, your property taxes, and how we do that in an economic downturn. A lot of people have our office about their property tax increases, and that was pre-COVID. They increased after COVID. They will continue to increase if we have to pay back a loan obligation that we don't have money for. We have to find a way to pay it back, and that's always going to be through floating our levies for property taxes. So I encourage the voters to get educated and to not just stand with us, but to stand firmly for their own benefit and protect their own interests, and vote no on this question.
Councilman, is there a local hire requirement attached to any of these projects? Like, would the developers have to hire a certain percent now?
Not yet, no. Anything else? Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Yes, it was.
Sorry, I'm sorry, I'm distracted. You're trying to find Sarah. Good luck finding Sarah.
I got 0 level, 2 different slots in Mike level, so you're better off. You're better off.
Taylor just bros feel like
This is David.
I got all your, you got your stuff right there. Grab stuff. Over there.
Are we gonna go sit?
Oh, I thought you were going to say this and just look around and be gone.
No, I thought we were gonna like do this together.
Oh, somebody? Yeah, we can go. You want me to ask
Yeah, I didn't see we do it together. But yeah, none of us have been. Oh, I know. Yeah, I was a teacher. Okay, it's all better. Like, yes. I mean, we feel like it's a full-time what we're doing, but we like it. It's happening. So, like, I'm not. I guess go back to the classroom every day. You know, I did it for almost a decade. Loved it, but it's just time to.
I'm Nola. Nice to meet you.
Yes, I'm friends with Harmony. Do you know Harmony?
Yes. Yeah. She was here earlier.
Yeah, she in the chamber. So
Okay.
it was good comments.
Okay.
But yeah. So that's my right. That's like your best.
Hi.
Are you Nola?
Yes. Oh, hi. Nice to meet you.
Hi. Does everybody know each other online? Yeah.
I know. I'm like I've seen your picture. It's nice to meet you. We got that engaging
How are you?